Beautiful night in Denver, Colorado. Before we kick it off, down to the field, we send it to Pam Oliver. Pam.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Mike, I don't think anybody envies your situation. Tell me just what are some of the things you're going to try to look for with some of the play you're going to see tonight at quarterback?
You know, we want Ben to have a productive training camp in preseason, and to this point, he's done that. And we want to gain clarity with the other guys. And I think to this point, I think we're all comfortable with what we've seen from both of them thus far. Tonight's going to be a big test, particularly for Dennis. He's going to get an opportunity to run some with the ones, hopefully, versus their good people. So it's a big litmus test for him.
What are your expectations? How do you keep the team afloat with what's looming?
The standard's the standard regardless of circumstance. The 11 on the field represent us. The standard is winning. We expect those quarterbacks to lead us down the field.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe, back to you.
All right, Pam, and thanks to Mike Tomlin for joining us before the kick. Roethlisberger started last week against the Giants. He gets the nod here tonight against the Denver Broncos. Parrish Cox, who is an exciting return man and actually starting at cornerback tonight for Champ Bailey. He's a rookie, a 5th-round pick, will return it for the Denver Broncos. And this is new, 2nd week in a row, but this is the first season with Sepulveda kicking off instead of Jeff Reed, and he knuckles it sideways, and maybe he won't keep that job. The Broncos will start at their own 40 because of the kickoff out of bounds.
By rule, the ball will be placed at the 40-yard line. First down.
So that's a bad start. Jeff Reed, who's not happy with the fact that he's not kicking off. Just watch Sepulveda drive one out of bounds. Here's Kyle Orton. He was signed to a contract extension through 2011, $8.8 million. In the extension, there are his numbers from last year, and what he has done, Troy, take the numbers out of it. The most important ones, he's won when he's been at the controls in the NFL, whether it was Chicago or Denver, and he tosses to Lendale White. His first preseason action, he gets 0 over the right side. Take a look at the offense, Troy, and you can talk about either Kyle Orton or this offensive line, which is jumbled all around. As you look at the backs and receivers and up front, changes really across the board.
Well, and that's been a real concern throughout the preseason, is the fact that they have had to shuffle that offensive line. They're relying on some people that probably won't be starting, or at least they hope they won't be. Ryan Clady, their Pro Bowl left tackle, he injured his knee and has not played yet.
Here's a completion out to Eddie Royal, and Eddie Royal is out of bounds. A flag after a late hit. An 18-yard completion, and you can tack on 15 more. They marked him out at the 41, and then Royal got a shove after he went out of bounds.
At the conclusion of the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 23 defense. Shove the player to the ground out of bounds. 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down.
You see the route there by Eddie Royal, nothing real fancy. He just comes off the line of scrimmage, turns and gets the ball delivered. And Eddie Royal is a guy that had an excellent rookie season, 91 receptions back in 08, and certainly raised the bar. A lot was expected coming into last year. I don't know that he necessarily had a sophomore slump, but his production wasn't there. I think a lot of that had to do with how he was being used in a new offensive system.
On first down, Lendale White tries the left side better this time as he picks up 4. James Ferrier on the stop. Take a look at the defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They run a 3-4. They still have Casey Hampton anchoring the middle up front with Kiesel and Aaron Smith, who missed 11 games last year. At the end positions, there are the linebackers very good, and the secondary, the penalty was on Keenan Lewis for the late hit. Unnecessary roughness. He's starting for the injured Bryant McFadden. Here's White again, right side, and Lendale tries to get to the 20. They'll mark him just outside it, a gain of just 1. And Lawrence Timmons was over there to make the stop for Pittsburgh.
You look at this Denver offense and what they are trying to do this year. And they would like to be able to run the football. They've got 3 good running backs and 2 coming back from last year in Noshawn Marino, who has yet to play in preseason, as well as Correll Buckhalter, but they haven't been able to work on that part of their game because of the injuries, and so they've had to rely heavily on throwing the football in these preseason games, and have taken on a look that they probably won't have once the season begins.
Orton hangs in and completes it. A first down to Brandon Lloyd, and a flag on a hit on Orton thrown against Lawrence Timmons.
First Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 94. Unnecessarily threw the quarterback to the ground. This penalty be assessed half the distance to the goal. First down.
See it right at the end there. Lawrence Timmons comes in and throws Kyle Orton to the ground. A route, nice job right in there in the zone coverage of splitting the defenders, both the safety and the corner.
So the completion for 10 yards to Brandon Lloyd. The penalty takes it down to the 5 where it's 1st and goal. Handoff is to Lance Ball, and he's to the 2. 2nd and goal from the 2-yard line. This has been, and Troy touched on it, Noshawn Moreno hasn't appeared during the preseason. He's out with a bad hamstring, may not appear until the regular season opener at Jacksonville. Buckhalter's been out with a bad back. They signed Lendale White late. He's been bothered by a hamstring injury, so he's getting his first taste of it. And it's been Lance Ball, Justin Fargas, and Bruce Hall getting the carries, and the run game has been non-existent for the Broncos this preseason. They try to pound it in, and that's Lendale White, and he goes nowhere. 3rd and goal.
Well, there's no question that they're trying to get a look right now at Lendale White to see if he's going to be able to contribute for this football team once they get into the regular season. They're hopeful that Noshawn Moreno will be back for their opener, but there's no guarantees there, and if he's unable to go as well as Correll Buckhalter, then Lendale White could take on a prominent role.
James Ferrier lost his helmet on that tackle, was banged up at the end of it. Now he is squatted down, getting attention from the medical personnel of the Steelers. So we'll take a break. 3rd and goal for Denver when we come back.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by Ford. Drive one.
Well, a lot like Eli Manning in the Jets game. Watch James Ferrier. The helmet goes flying. And then it was the rookie J.D. Walton who hit him. Here it is right in the middle of your screen. Just an awful looking hit. And cut open up immediately on the forehead of James Ferrier, and he's on the sideline getting attention. I'm sure won't return in this game. 35-year-old out of Virginia. A big part of what they do, stuffing a running game on the inside of this 3-4 defense.
Well, yeah, and you're just hopeful that that's all there is to the injury is a cut. I mean, that's dangerous right there when you're talking about your helmet coming off and then taking, one right to the head without any type of protection. I'm still amazed. I say it a lot. I'm amazed at how often the helmets are coming off of these players.
It's 3rd down and goal, and they hand it off inside for no signal yet. Lendale White touchdown. A drive that featured 6 running plays compared to 2 pass plays, and Lendale White, the former Tennessee Titan, and a young man who grew up in this area, pounds it in on 3rd and goal.
Well, just an off-tackle play there, and just trying to move out the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been very stout for the last several years in run defense. A nice job there by the Denver Broncos offensively, being able to establish the run really for the first time this preseason.
7-0 Denver Broncos. As Lendale White, who started Chatfield High School in Littleton, Colorado, gets his first action with the Broncos. Pounds it in. James Ferrier will take it in to the locker room with his team down 7. First rushing attempts of this preseason for Lendale White, who, by the way, will serve a 4-game suspension at the beginning of the regular season for violating the league's rules on substance abuse. Pounds it in on 3rd and goal. A couple of personal fouls on the Steelers defensively helped that drive along, and now Matt Prater will kick it away, and Antonio Brown, who was a very good kick returner in college at Central Michigan, will return it for the Steelers. Or will he? He will. From about halfway deep in his own end zone, takes it out and can't make the 20 out to the 19-yard line. Well, this game is presented in widescreen, which is very similar to how you've been watching movies at home or heck in the theater for years. The DVDs you watch movies on are typically made this way. And what it does, it gives you the advantage of being able to see more of the players and the playing field. And we're able to have our cameras shoot 25% more of the action. Widescreen closely resembles the way we see the world. The human eye, by the way, sees more horizontally than it does vertically. As you hear the reaction, the reception for Ben Roethlisberger, who will serve at least a 4-game suspension at the start of the year for his personal conduct. Under center, and he drops back, throws over the middle, and gets it to Mike Wallace. Coming off a big rookie season, and Wallace is down inside the Denver 35. 48 yards on the first completion from Roethlisberger, and Wallace had to wait for it.
Yeah, well, Mike Wallace has the speed where he has to wait on a lot of throws. He's got outside technique there by Andre Goodman, and he has a perfect route call to Mike Wallace, and pretty easy pitch and catch there to start this game for Ben Roethlisberger.
And so the ball is placed at the Denver 34. Eventually Ronaldo Hill downfield to make the stop. Broncos come on a blitz, and Mendenhall carries it over the right side to the 30. And just to finish the thought on the widescreen look that we're giving you here tonight, it's considered to be a more natural view for humans, more closely simulating the way we see the world in the tunnel vision view without it. And to me, it falls into the category of why hasn't this been done sooner, but I guess now with more high-def sets in action watching the NFL, it makes the most sense.
Well, I think it'll be great, too, for the viewers because, you know, a lot of times you can't see all 22 players, and there's going to be a lot of times with this that you'll be able to see the safety play as well.
It's 2nd down and 6, and it's Mendenhall who hits a wall and spins his way out of it as a 1st down inside the 20. Good run by Rashard Mendenhall, 12 yards for a guy who last year, after a disappointing rookie season, rushed for over 1,100 yards.
Well, the great job there is you've got Heath Miller, the tight end, and Max Starks. They completely collapsed that left side. Now the ball was intended to go to the play side right. It got jumbled up. Mendenhall cuts back to the left side. Nobody there in support.
So an impressive drive by the Broncos, and now the Steelers under the direction of Ben Roethlisberger trying to answer. From the 19. Good pocket, end zone, and a miscommunication. Wallace stopped. Roethlisberger thought he was still going, and it's 2nd and 10.
And we take a look here at Ben Roethlisberger and what this offseason has been like for him, and you know, in talking about, you know, what's this going to be like here over the first 4 weeks, and it could be 6 weeks. I have a tendency to believe that it will not be 6 weeks, but they've got to get him ready to play because, as we said, coming into this ball game, he will be unable to practice and be unable to show up at the facility during that suspension. It's a long time to go without football.
Mendenhall on 2nd and 10 cuts it back again and takes it down inside the 15-yard line to the 14, a gain of 4. The rest of the offense for the Steelers looks like this. They have a rookie at center in Marquise Pouncey. Here are the backs and receivers. Frank Summers is at fullback. Mendenhall will be the featured back, and he'll even be the 3rd down back this season. That's the idea coming in. And there's Pouncey, and Flozell Adams, who's so old he used to protect Troy Aikman with the Dallas Cowboys, is starting at right tackle.
Well, 5-time Pro Bowler at left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. He's being asked to make a position change, and it's been a little bit of an experiment for him in pass protection.
Timeout taken by the Denver Broncos as first-year coordinator Don Wink Martindale didn't like what he was seeing out on the field. Take a break, come back, 3rd down when we return.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by Machete. Friday, only in theaters. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Fusion, the 2010 Motor Trend Car of the Year. Get in and drive one.
Did you know you can play NFL.com's all-new fantasy game, the first and only game with video? It's free and easy to play. Sign up today at fantasy.nfl.com. 3rd down for Pittsburgh, and while there's been a lot of talk, Troy, about them getting back to their roots in the running game and all that, when Ben Roethlisberger's a quarterback, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a throwing team.
Well, they have been here over the last couple of seasons. I mean, each year that Ben has been the starting quarterback, they have gotten further away from what we're accustomed to seeing out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, I think that's only natural. I know it's what Ben has wanted, and it's also kind of the way that this league has evolved, here over the last several years. You better be able to throw the football in this league if you're going to win.
3rd and 6. Out of the shotgun, out of the backfield, Mwelde Moore out of his reach. And it's 4th down. The kicking unit will come on for Pittsburgh.
Well, they really got the matchup there that they were hoping to get. Mwelde Moore matched up on Wesley Woodyard and coming out of the backfield and just unable to make the connection on that. And that's one of the things that the Steelers would like to get more to, and that is to the backs, and specifically Rashard Mendenhall. Talking with them the other day, they're hopeful that he can be a 3-down back and one of those few guys in the league right now that won't come off the field.
33-yard try. Good job by Sepulveda to get it down, and the field goal is just good inside the right upright. Jeff Reed puts the first points up for Pittsburgh, and he just got it in. 7-3. Roethlisberger thought he could have had a little more than 3 points. Little shake of the head as he came up empty. Well, there you go. A little rainbow here in Denver. Wind whipping through this stadium, Invesco Field at Mile High. Steelers were 9-7 last year. They're 2-0 this preseason. And with a wind whipping through here, it knocks the ball off the kicking tee. So Sepulveda, who kicked his first one out of bounds, will get another crack at it. The Denver Broncos, as we mentioned, started 6-0, but really stumbled down the stretch. Couldn't stop the run, and were beaten late. Ended up 8-8, and they missed the playoffs as well. And now having to hold it is Stephon Logan. It's always got to be a little intimidating feeling to feel that thing go shooting out from under your finger. It's a high short kick. Penalty flag comes in, and Parrish Cox is out across the 20 to the 23, and they throw a flag. They threw it early. Let's get the call from Tony Correnti.
Illegal wedge formed by the receiving team. This penalty assessed half the distance of the goal. First down.
That was a new rule put in last year. You could only have 2 guys in a wedge. Correnti threw the flag, gave us the announcement. Last year, Denver Broncos 8-8, second in the AFC West. Finished 2-6 after that great start. Kyle Orton, a career high in pass yardage, the 3rd best pass defense in the league.
Well, it was a team last year that, as you said, got off to such a good start. A lot of people thought this was a team that was going to be going through a rebuilding mode because they no longer had Jay Cutler and bringing in Kyle Orton and a new coach and a new scheme and all that. And then with that start, expectations went through the roof. And I don't know that anyone knows what they've got exactly this year.
Here's a pass complete to Jabbar Gaffney. Good for 5. I think that's the question, Troy. I mean, the question for Josh McDaniels is this team better than they were when he took over? He immediately clashed with Jay Cutler. He was gone. He's replaced Brandon Marshall and Tony Scheffler, 2 guys who caught a lot of passes. Last year, Scheffler less than he had the previous year, with a couple of young picks like Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker. And Mike Nolan has been replaced by Wink Martindale, a first-year defensive coordinator. Are they better? We'll have to wait and see here in 2010 as Lendale White carries it for 2 yards.
Well, I think because of some of the moves that you talk about, with Jay Cutler not being here, Brandon Marshall not being here, that should any of us really be surprised then by the drafting of Tim Tebow? A little bit about, it was a move that was outside the box relative to what a lot of other teams would have done, or where Tim Tebow was on their charts and their draft boards. But Yeah, I do know this. At quarterback right now with Kyle Orton, he is awfully excited about the people that they have for him to throw the football to.
And that includes Brandon Lloyd, who has enough for a first down, gain of 9.
And Brandon Lloyd is an interesting guy, because it seems that every year around this time, when we're talking to coaches, everybody's excited about Brandon Lloyd and what he's going to be able to do. He's got a lot of talent. And I know in visiting with Kyle Orton, he was with Brandon Lloyd back in Chicago. And he feels that he has a good rapport with him and understands him. And he also believes that Brandon Lloyd has finally gotten humbled enough to the point that he's no longer concerning himself with a lot of other things that take away his focus from what he's trying to do on the field. And he's played very, very well here in the preseason for Denver.
Denver has to use their second timeout. Kyle Orton has started this game 4 for 4 for 41 yards. Broncos lead 7-3. And they'll talk about this upcoming first down play. How about a report on James Ferrier? Let's go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, the players who were sitting on the bench when James Ferrier first came off the field quickly scurried away at the sight of that gash to the right side of Ferrier's head. Steelers quickly determined as Ferrier walked to the locker room that was it. James Ferrier's out with a head laceration. Joe?
All right. Big piece of the puzzle on the inside, and linebacker for Ferrier lost in this game. Here's Lendell White over the right side on first down. Good run. Picked up 10. Polamalu on the stop.
I know Denver right now has got to be excited about their ability to at least try to get this running game going. There was so much concern coming into the game, primarily because of the injuries, as we talked about. And to be able to move the football, not easy, as I said, to run the ball against this Pittsburgh defense. They are very, very stingy when it comes to giving up yardage on the ground.
The Denver team that rushed for a total of 111 yards in the 2 previous preseason games. Little different story here tonight with Lendell White. This time he loses one. And Larry Foote, who is back from a year with the Detroit Lions, is out there to make the stop.
And I think if you look at Pittsburgh defensively, last year was still a good year for this defensive team. I mean, overall, it was a defense that ranked 5th in the National Football League. As I said, very difficult to run the ball. The problem was in the secondary, they just gave up too many plays, particularly at corner. Of course, when you're without Aaron Smith for most of the year and Troy Polamalu, that will have a lot to do with your struggles on the defensive side of the ball.
Ike Taylor was coming on a blitz, and he surprised the heck out of Orton, who turned around and saw Taylor coming, and so he just threw it away.
Yeah, Ike Taylor coming up and expecting run. You see that right there. It was a run blitz, and he realizes that it was not a run, and then he continues on and trying to get a play there on Kyle Orton.
Hall of Famer Dick LeBeau, 7th year coordinating this defense, his 2nd tour of duty with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's a screen for Lance Ball. Cuts it upfield. It depends on the spot. They're going to mark him a yard shy of a first down. Brett Kiesel out there to force him out.
Lance Ball's one of those guys who's fighting for a spot. I mean, he's gotten the bulk of the work here in the preseason. And if you look at what Denver did a year ago, they kept 5 running backs, 3 of which were running backs, 2 fullbacks, that he figures to play in the mix. You mentioned earlier Lendell White being suspended for the first 4 games of the season, and that leaves a 3rd spot, assuming Lendell White makes the team even, at the running back position.
Penalty flags prior to the snap.
Play game, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
That'll march him 5 yards back. Every punter wants to punt in Denver. Britton Colquitt is the guy who gets to do it here with the Broncos in his 2nd year, a college free agent out of Tennessee. And then Matt Prater is the place kicker, who's got tremendous range, especially here at home. He was making field goals from 60 yards easily during pregame warm-up. The high altitude the ball carries. And this one carries Antonio Brown back inside the 5. That's a mistake. He's got nowhere to go. And wrapped up at the 4. David Bruton down there to make the stop, but that was a mental error by a guy who's trying to make this team as a 6th-round pick out of Central Michigan as a kick and punt returner. That was a mistake.
Well, yeah, that was a big-time mistake, a rookie mistake, and I know that, you know, this was one of the things that they were really excited about watching Antonio Brown do. You know, see what type of return guy he was going to be, and you can be assured that they're going to hear about that. And then
that's his backup. That's Stefan Logan, who gets shoved into one of the coaches. At least Logan gets up smiling. It was a 3-yard return, Troy, after a 58-yard punt. And out to the 4-yard line, the Steelers are backed up, down by 4. It was Al Everest, the special teams coach, who was run over by Stefan Logan as Isaac Redmond carries it up the middle for 4 yards as the Steelers try and pick up a little breathing room down near their own end zone. So Al Everest, one of 2 coaching changes, the first, Troy, coaching changes that Mike Tomlin has made since he took over here with the Steelers. Not only Al Everest at special teams, but Sean Kugler is now the offensive line coach. 2nd and 6. Roethlisberger hands to Mendenhall, and Richard tries to inch his way to the 1st down marker, and it is enough for a fresh set of downs for the Steelers. So they started at their 4 and now have a 1st down inches outside their own 14.
Well, we talked about the rookie Marquise Pouncey, who's making his start tonight at center, and he has got his hands full tonight going up against Jamal Williams, a real pro at the nose tackle position, who's going to be lined up right over him throughout this game while they're both on the field. But Pouncey doing a pretty good job right now against him.
Here's a screen set up for Hines Ward, who carries it out to the 20. Gain of 5. Well, you've got Pouncey, who left after his junior year at Florida. He's just 20 years old. A lot of tattoos, a lot of ink for a guy who's just 20 years old. But he takes the place of Justin Hartwig, who coming into this season has made 35 consecutive starts at center since he took over at that spot in 2008, but he's been unseated.
Well, he's had a really good camp. They initially had him at guard, and he has proven to earn the opportunity to see what he can do here tonight.
Blitz coming from Denver, and a quick throw out to Hines Ward. He makes a move, and he's brought down right at the 1st down marker by Ronaldo Hill. No signal yet as to whether it's a 1st down, as Tony Correnti comes up and gives it a look. And it is a 1st down for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I tell you look at Hines Ward now in his 13th season, and you know, you just always wonder when a guy like him is going to slow down, and it certainly was not last year. 95 receptions, led the team, another 1,000 yards receiving, tough as nails, does it all. This has always been a team, the Steelers offense, that has had the best wide receiver blocking, both in the run game and after the catch.
4 receivers at the top of your screen, and Roethlisberger looks right, and he completes it to Emmanuel Sanders. Sanders is a rookie and the all-time leader in catches, touchdown catches, and receiving yards at SMU, and he was the lone guy on the right side of the formation.
They split everybody out to the left. They put Emmanuel Sanders, one receiver to the other side, and he's one-on-one there. And a pretty good job, because initially Emmanuel Sanders was not getting off that ball against Paris Cox. But Ben Roethlisberger put it on his back shoulder, and you just can't defense that. And the only way you can is to play it. And then if you're playing that back shoulder throw as a defensive back, you know, then you're subjected to a guy running right by you.
I don't know if people realize the career numbers that Ben Roethlisberger, who's won 2 Super Bowls, has put together. Play clock is winding down. Franchise record 4,328 throwing yards last year rather. And he is 8th in the all-time list in completion percentage, 5th in yards per attempt, 9th in quarterback rating, and 5th all-time in winning percentage. That's the end of the first quarter. Broncos lead it 7-3. Ben Roethlisberger is out. He hands a first down at the Pittsburgh 35 to Dennis Dixon, who's been a very, very accurate passer during camp and in the preseason. And he can also do that. He can run. He gained 6 yards over the right side. And Troy, his play, we talked about at the beginning, has really muddled things up for Mike Tomlin, because he came in thinking, okay, Leftwich will be the guy. Dixon could be a change-up quarterback, but it's not written in stone that Leftwich starts the season opener against Atlanta.
No, Dennis Dixon did not play well in the mini camps coming into training camp, and threw a lot of interceptions in training camp. However, in the 3-4 weeks that they've been practicing, he has yet to throw an interception, and he just won't go away. And he has played very, very well in the preseason games.
Handoff is to Redmond. Gains 1. Bring up 3rd down and short.
You see Ben Roethlisberger there, and he's trying to encourage Dennis Dixon, and and because of the way Dennis has played, Mike Tomlin feels that he's earned the opportunity to get out here tonight and play with the number 1s and see what he can do. And as you said, I think that they came into training camp because of the struggles of Dixon in the mini camps, that okay, we'll go with the veteran and have him hold it together for 4 games. But Dixon has outplayed Byron Leftwich in these preseason games.
Comes in with a quarterback rating of 141 during the preseason. Good pocket. That ball was tipped and incomplete. Mike Wallace, the intended receiver. And it'll be 4th down.
And some of that too is that he's playing against a lot of backups, and granted, he's out there with a lot of backups in those situations, and so trying to get a true evaluation of a player, particularly a quarterback, is very, very difficult. That's why this game here tonight for Dixon is very, very important. I've got to believe that based on what happens tonight is going to determine who's going to be the starter in week 1.
Sepulveda hits it. Eddie Royal waits for it and calls for a fair catch just inside his own 12-yard line. When we come back, Kyle Orton and the Denver offense back on the field. They lead by 4. 46-yard punt from Sepulveda. 7-3 Denver. They have the football. Nice moment for this organization and a wonderful moment for the great Floyd Little. Broncos running back from 67 to 75, drafted 6th overall in 67 out of Syracuse. He won the rushing title in 71, and when he retired at 6,323 yards, 7th on the all-time rusher list when he called it quits, inducted into the Hall of Fame on August 7th.
Well, it was easy to see what that honor meant to him there in Canton, Ohio, and what a speech he delivered.
First real star here for the Denver Broncos. Enshrined in Cooperstown, rather in Canton, as the pass is complete for 3 yards to Jabbar Gaffney. And also on that list, the great Dick LeBeau. And I will say this, talk about the defensive coordinators and coordinating the Steelers defense with Ben Roethlisberger, Troy, being out for at least the first 4 games. This Steelers defense is going to have to be, quote unquote, that Steelers defense early to keep them in ball games, whether it's Dixon or Leftwich at quarterback.
Well, I don't see any reason why they won't be. I mean, really, this is a veteran group. They've got the pieces back in place.
Malu coming on blitz, got there, and the pass is dropped. They're calling it a catch and fumble, and it is returned out of the hands of Gaffney and returned by who else? James Harrison. There's the defense delivering hits, and Kyle Orton is slow to get up. He was in on the tackle, and he can't get up along the sideline. First of all, it was close to an incomplete pass, but it was ruled a catch and fumble, and then Orton getting in on the tackle is injured.
Well, Kyle Orton, he's coming over trying to make a play. He goes down low.
And here's the worst part of it. They just overturned the call. So Orton gets drilled in the back by James Harrison, and the play should have never happened. They rule it now an incomplete pass as Gaffney going to the ground lost it. It's the right call, but it's a late call. And all it does is get Kyle Orton drilled along the sideline. And he'll have to come out for at least one play as he got up and walked off. Brady Quinn will take over.
Well, you saw James Harrison looking him up too at the end of that play. Kyle Orton actually did the right thing in trying to both make a play, but then also trying to protect himself. Hard to determine exactly, what that was, whether it was a helmet there into the back or something to do with the shoulder, but we'll get a report on that.
Brady Quinn now. Much better last week against Detroit than he was in the opener at Cincinnati. Former Cleveland Brown. And down he goes in the arms of Ike Taylor. On 3rd and 7, Brady Quinn is sacked. And no sooner do we talk about Dick LeBeau's defense stepping up than they do it here to end this drive for the Broncos.
Yeah, you're going to see him. He's going to come right underneath here, Ike Taylor, and he just gets lost in the shuffle there. And that left side of the offensive line for the Denver Broncos is a concern. I mean, they've got some guys playing those positions for the first time, and they were unable to pass that off, with the twist and with Taylor coming underneath on that blitz.
Britton Colquitt will punt it from his end zone. Antonio Brown will get another try. The rookie from inside the 45. Goes down not touched. Able to get up and still continue. And they'll mark him out at the 46 of the Denver Broncos. So the return by Harrison, the hit into the back of Kyle Orton. He is out at least for now. Concern here for the Denver Broncos.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by Mafia 2. In stores now, rated M for mature. By DirecTV. Watch your favorite team wherever you live, only on DirecTV. And by the new Ford Fiesta. It's a pretty big deal.
Well, the Steelers take over. Kyle Orton looks to be okay. But any quarterback, and you know this certainly better than I do, Troy, they are a target on any interception, and James Harrison had Kyle Orton sized up on the sideline.
I was going to say, especially if it's James Harrison who you're trying to make a play on.
They hand the ball off to Antoine Randall, who's back in a Steeler uniform, and we go back to what was in essence a non-fumble return, but there's the hit on Kyle Orton.
Well, and that's what defensive players do. James Harrison, he's still, even though now he's an offensive player with the ball in his hands, he has the defensive mentality, and he was going to deliver the blow, and he did.
Three-time Pro Bowler, and had that 100-yard interception return for a touchdown in the last play of the first half. The Super Bowl 2 years ago against Arizona, still the longest play in Super Bowl history. As Dixon drops back and throws out of the reach of David Johnson. So it'll be 3rd down. We look ahead to week 1 and our schedule on September 12th. Early games, Panthers and Giants. Falcons at the Steelers, Lions and Bears. Battle in the north, and then late, Packers at Eagles. A great matchup. 49ers and Seahawks. The Cardinals at the Rams, and we're excited to see the Green Bay Packers week 1. They look terrific so far this preseason.
Boy, Aaron Rodgers the other night, he sure looked good.
A playoff team from a year ago, and they are having big dreams in Green Bay. Penalty flag goes down as Robert Ayers brings down Dennis Dixon, and we'll check the flag. Early indication is it's against the Denver Broncos. Would be a loss of 2 on a sack by Ayers, but that could be wiped away by a penalty.
Illegal use of the hands of the face, defense number 32. 5-yard penalty to be assessed from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
That's the rookie Parrish Cox. Meanwhile, Robert Ayers, who did not have a sack last year as a rookie, going to be counted on even more now with the loss of Elvis Dumervil. And there was the quick look at the hands to the face by the rookie Parrish Cox.
Well, that was a quick look, and you're right. Robert Ayers is, someone who struggled a little bit, last year as a rookie player, and having to make the switch from defensive end to a stand-up linebacker, and it didn't go real well, and it doesn't always go as smoothly as what it does for some others. You're seeing that more and more as more and more defenses in the league are playing that 3-4 scheme. You're taking undersized defensive ends from college and asking them then to be linebackers, but he has worked exceptionally hard this offseason, and they're excited about what he brings to the defense.
Had a sack last week against Detroit as Mendenhall carries it and cannot make the 35. This is a Denver defense that was shredded by the opposition's running game last year down the stretch. Mendenhall of the Steelers in November had 155, and that was just the beginning of the trouble.
I think you take a look here at Marquise Pouncey, and as we said, that's the matchup that they're really evaluating. A rookie player going up against a 13-year veteran there in the middle. And for an offense that has high expectations and was very productive a year ago, to even consider going with a rookie at that position speaks volumes for the talent and the ability that this young man has.
Good pocket and protection for Dixon, who completes it to Mike Wallace. Good for 6. Andre Goodman out there to make the stop for the Broncos.
And it's a little unsettling for a quarterback when you've got a rookie center in front of you as well, because that's where you can't handle the pressure if you don't have a pocket to be able to stand up or step up into. And Pouncey's doing a good job here in this first half against Jamal Williams.
It's 3rd down and 2 with 9.5 to play in the first half here in Denver.
There's Justin Hartwig, and as you would expect, a veteran guy who's been a starter for a number of years, not real happy with the decision to not let him start here tonight.
On 3rd down, Dixon throws and completes. That's David Johnson. And a first down for Pittsburgh inside the Denver 15 to the 14-yard line.
Well, just a break in coverage there by Denver, and they're able to get him out into the flat with nobody out there in flat support. Pretty easy stuff right there.
So David Johnson, who had 2 catches last year for 9 yards, has been thrown to twice on this possession. And the total yards now piling up for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who trail by 4. So far, the Steelers 0 for 1 inside the red zone and scoring a touchdown. Here is Isaac Redmond down inside the 10. A gain of 5.
Pittsburgh offensively last year, one of the areas where they really did struggle. I mean, they didn't struggle in many areas. They had a 4,000-yard passer, 2,000-yard receivers, and a 1,000-yard runner. But where they weren't very good was converting on short yardage situations and getting the tough yards inside. And that's been a point of emphasis that has been addressed here in the preseason.
Play clock is at 6. 2nd down and 5. Dixon keeps it, looking for Spaeth. He's not open, and Dixon throws. He is intercepted. And it's Parrish Cox, the rookie, who came down and kept his feet in bounds.
The question is, was he able to get his feet in bounds? And it sure looks like he did.
Wow, that's the rookie there, high on the 5th round pick out of Oklahoma State. An interception in the end zone. Well, there's good news for the Denver Broncos. Kyle Orton is back in the huddle, ready to go after that hit by James Harrison. Last time the Broncos had it. First down, Denver leading 7-3 after the interception. An impressive one by the rookie Parrish Cox. Handoff is to Lendale White. And Lendale gets 3.
We'll go back and take a look at this interception. You're going to see tight end Matt Spaeth. He's just running, trying to show run there and then go to the corner, and they get Dixon out on the edge, which is really where he excels, and he had no chance of completing this pass. And you've got Parrish Cox, who was underneath that throw the entire way, and he should have just thrown it up in the stands.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 92. Push a player over the pile unnecessarily. 15 yards, automatic first down.
So it's another personal foul called against this Pittsburgh defense. James Harrison. You can see the look on the face of Mike Tomlin, who watched Ike Taylor get kicked out of the game last week in a fight with Hakeem Nicks. And there it is right at the end, the hit by Harrison on the top of the pile. So Parrish Cox, who was guilty of an illegal hands to the face, which kept the drive alive and erased a sack by Ayers, gets the interception. See if the Broncos turn it into points. Orton throws it to the sideline, and the pass incomplete, out of bounds. Good try by Brandon Lloyd.
Yeah, he almost was able to keep his feet. Kyle Orton doing a good job of just navigating the rush there and getting the ball out. Kyle Orton, we talk about it, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but I think what he's done a better job of this preseason is sliding around in the pocket and avoiding some of the big hits. And there you see the tail end of it with Brandon Lloyd trying to drag that left toe. Nice job of hauling it in.
Ruled out of bounds, 2nd and 10. Handoff is to White, and Lendale gets nothing. 3rd and 10 coming up for the Denver Broncos. Lawrence Timmons made that last stop. Troy, you and I always talked about Kyle Orton when he got a shot to come off the bench or to come in relief of Rex Grossman, and his numbers with Chicago. He was 10-5 as a rookie in 2005 and 15 starts, and overall was 21-12, and yet they never really believed that he was the right guy to take them to the next level.
Well, the problem has been for him is that they've never believed that he's been one of the reasons as to why they've won, you know, especially going back to that rookie year in Chicago.
On 3rd and 10, pass to Royal, what a catch for a first down. What a throw, and an even better catch by Eddie Royal, 17 yards, and he got both feet down.
Well, good protection on that left side by the Denver Broncos, picking up the blitz, giving Kyle Orton a nice pocket to be able to step up and make a good throw. You see Eddie Royal working the inside. That's where they hope to utilize him this year, and he uses his quickness and his speed to get separation from the defender. Nice job all the way around there up front, and then on the back end with the throw and catch.
Handoff is to Lendale White. He is popped by Timmons, a gain of 2. Eddie Royal set a Denver rookie record 2 years ago with 91 catches, 980 yards, 5 touchdowns. Last year it dipped to 37 catches, 345 yards, no touchdowns. And as Troy said, they're moving him inside to try to take advantage of his quickness, and maybe he's better suited in there.
Well, I think that he is because he's not an overly big guy. He's pretty small in stature. He's got great quickness, and you think about all the slot receivers that have excelled in the National Football League. They have that type of build and makeup, and he should excel there in that spot.
There's Lendale White, and Lendale White will roll for a first down. 8-yard run against this Pittsburgh defense.
Well, this has got to be encouraging for Denver. They knew coming into this game they needed to try to get the running game going against a defense that would be difficult to accomplish that. But as the game has gone on here, they've started to get bigger and bigger chunks.
And yet it's a tease because White won't be available for the first 4 games of the season. Now Timmons is banged up and he comes out. Tim Tebow, by the way, is scheduled to play in this game. Did not participate last week because of bruised ribs. Quick throw. Brandon Lloyd makes a move and is wrestled down after a gain of 8 by Keenan Lewis. And a penalty flag at the end of it.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense number 23 with something extra at the end of the play. Penalty assessed, happens to the goal, automatic first down.
Something extra like giving him the business. And that's 4, Troy. 4 personal fouls against this Pittsburgh defense here in the first half.
Well, everybody's trying to come out. They got their starters playing. Everybody knows the magnitude of this preseason game. And You know, they're wanting to look good, but you've got to keep it in check. I mean, these players know that the league has really come down on those types of things. They're not going to tolerate it. And the officials have done a good job of legislating that here in this first half.
I don't think Tomlin's going to tolerate it either. Sent Keenan Lewis to the bench. Here's Lance Ball. He gets to the 11, and if you're Keenan Lewis, who had a disappointing rookie season last year, here's what you get to see when you come to the sideline after a personal foul.
Yeah, because I think if you look back at last year, as we talked about, offensively they were good enough to have had a much better year. Defensively they certainly were. It was these types of things, you know, and I know we're in the first half, but going back to last season, their inability to finish games really hurt them. And when you have penalties like that, those are the things that get you beat, no matter how good you are on either side of the ball.
Out of the backfield, it's Lance Ball, and he dropped it, but a flag comes in. They're going to call offensive pass interference against the Broncos.
Yeah, they can no longer use that umpire.
Pass interference, offense number 84. 10-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
Pretty easy call here. You can see Brandon Lloyd, he's trying to run a pick, and you know, you got to be a little better actor than that on James Harrison. So the official right there in the corner of the end zone had a good look at that one.
Makes it 2nd and 18. They're the penalties. The only penalty so far against Pittsburgh. 4 personal fouls called against his defense. Now timeout taken by Pittsburgh. Their first of the half. 3:35 left in the opening half of play in Denver. Broncos with the ball up 4. Well, Troy can circle it because I don't get to touch the pen that he plays with during the entire course of the game. Those are the timeouts remaining, 2 and 1, but they're also part of the Fox box now here in 2010.
I like the new Fox box. Good looking.
Yeah, it is. Team logo, timeouts. It's all right there. 2nd and 18 for the Broncos. Play action. Gordon with plenty of room, plenty of time, and throws it away. Great coverage downfield by the Pittsburgh defense. As Troy dresses his cord, we have our little scramble to try to get ready to come on camera. Here it is. We're here, and I guess it's kind of a tease. Denver's getting a good running game from Lendale White. He's not available first 4 games, and Ben Roethlisberger by far the best look at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now his night is finished.
Yeah, and it's a good, you know, quick work there for Ben Roethlisberger, but I thought it was good work that he got.
Here's Eddie Royal, and Timmons, who we saw limp off earlier, is back there to make the play no gain.
I got to tell you, Joe, I mean, it is a concern, and I think it's in the makeup of a coach and the players. You always kind of gloss over maybe some of the things that might be of concern and talk about the positives and why you can still go out and do a pretty good job. But this running back situation has got to be very unsettling for Josh McDaniels. I mean, when you consider the fact that your top 2 guys are banged up and haven't gotten any work, and then Lendale White, and who knows what his situation is going to be if he's going to make the team, but even if he does, he's unavailable the first 4 weeks. You know, what happens? You know, is this group good enough up front to protect if they have to throw the ball? They're not if Ryan Clady isn't at left tackle.
39-yard try is just drilled by Matt Prater. And it's a 7-point game. And part of that running back situation for Denver is they need Noshan Moreno, who was good as a rookie, to show that burst and to show what he showed game after game at Georgia, to lead the attack for Denver in the ground game. You saw Tim Tebow. We expect to see him in the second half. We will see more of him with Pam Oliver at halftime as she sat down with all 3 quarterbacks, Kyle Orton, Brady Quinn, and Tim Tebow. That's coming up at halftime from Denver. So bruised ribs and all, plenty to talk about. And I think the drafting, the Broncos moved up to grab Tim Tebow in the first round of the draft. it points to the confidence in my mind that Josh McDaniels has in himself to develop a quarterback, because he has his hands full in making Tim Tebow an NFL type quarterback that can fit it into tight spots, that can move a team down the field, not always relying on his legs to do it. Prater kicks it away, and shouldn't be a return by Antonio Brown. He takes a knee. We remind you to play NFL.com's all-new fantasy game, the first and only game with video. It's free and easy to play. Sign up today at fantasy.nfl.com.
I think to go back to what you were saying about Josh McDaniels, and certainly a confident guy, and why not? I mean, take a look at what he did in 07 there as the offensive coordinator in New England with Tom Brady. The rules kind of favored an open passing attack, and he took full advantage of it with Randy Moss and Wes Welker and that group. And then the following year, you got Matt Castle, who he takes over and hadn't had a start since he was in high school, never played in college, never played in the NFL. And he wins 11 ball games with him, and they had a productive offense. There's no question that Josh McDaniels feels that he can put a system in place that utilizes the skills, whether that's Tim Tebow or Kyle Orton or anyone else that's being asked to play.
Penalty flags at the snap, and it's a false start.
Offense, number 78. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
They get Max Starks, who is the anchor at left tackle. Talked about earlier, Willie Colon was the starter at right tackle, and now they're trying to replace him. He tore his Achilles with either Flozell Adams. We will see Jonathan Scott, fourth-year player out of Texas, before the end of the day as well.
Well, they call Flozell Adams the hotel because he's so big. Well, Max Starks is bigger than what Flozell is. I mean, those are two huge offensive tackles.
And Flozell may have had an early start again.
False start. Offense, number 71. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
He was known for a lot of that with the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, last year he was third in the NFL with the most false starts, and over the last 3 seasons he's led the NFL in false starts, and it's a real problem, because he knows the one thing that gives him problems, Joe, is a speed rusher, and anytime he's faced with somebody that he worries about can get around him with speed, then he's awfully quick to come out of that stance.
Well, he's 35 years old in his 13th year, trying to cheat a little bit and get a jump. Called for the false start. It's now 1st and 20, and the pass goes nowhere, and there's Parrish Cox again as he wrestles Mike Wallace out of bounds. A very short gain on 1st and 20 of 6.
Good showing by Parrish Cox, and he's one of those young players that they were really wanting to watch in this ball game, and a guy who they had as second-round talent, but it was because of some bad decisions in college that dropped him to the 5th.
Here's a pass. It's nearly picked off by Goodman as he stepped in front of Emmanuel Sanders.
It's a dangerous throw when you're throwing it across the field, and then Emmanuel Sanders has great quickness, and he jumps that one pretty good. Fortunate, if he'd gotten the ball thrown to where it needed to be thrown for the completion, it in all likelihood is intercepted. And Emmanuel Sanders in my backyard there from Southern Methodist University, and a guy they refer to as Go-Go because he never stops. I mean, he's got a great motor and just loves the game.
It's 3rd down and 14. So take us to the 2-minute warning. Dixon uses his legs, gets smacked, and it's incomplete to Wallace as he couldn't keep his feet in bounds.
And you got Dennis Dixon, who probably should have gotten called here. I mean, you got a helmet right underneath the chin strap right there on Dennis Dixon.
That was Woodyard who hit him. No penalty flag, 4th down when we come back.
Go back and take a look at this hit on Dennis Dixon, and Woodyard actually, he does not go helmet to helmet or underneath the headgear there. It looked like the initial contact was made to the shoulder pad, so with the ability to then go back and take a look at it a second time, a good no call there by the officials.
So Sepulveda hits it. Waiting for it is Parrish Cox, who's already had an interception in this game. He is wrestled down at the 40. Cox, who had a 65-yard punt return against Detroit already this preseason and has shown up big already in this game. Tim Tebow, highly celebrated rookie, has had different looks already. Draft day, that's how he looked. Training camp, the veterans gave him that Friar Tuck look. Preseason, he's got the beard to go with the crew cut. And that's the look he had when he sat down with Pam Oliver with the other two quarterbacks.
It's catching on.
And that's a part of the equation with Tim Tebow, the marketability of a guy coming here with jerseys and the money to be made that way. As Orton throws and he's picked off. Intercepted by William Gay.
Yeah, William Gay baited him on that one. It looked like William Gay was going to go to the flat. Kyle Orton thought he was going to be able to put one right in behind him, and then he fell off of it and got underneath that curl route. Pretty good play there by William Gay, who was the starter last year. He struggled. As Ray Horton, the secondary coach, would say, he got a little full of himself, and he's been relegated to the nickel corner now this year. But a nice play there by William Gay.
Steelers are playing without Bryant McFadden, who has a pec injury. Keenan Lewis got the start, also has a personal foul in this game. Dennis Dixon back to work. Steelers have 2 timeouts, and they hand it off to Merweldy Moore over the right side. He's into Denver territory with a gain of 6. Plenty of time left for Dennis Dixon to show something. He was intercepted in the end zone by Paris Cox earlier, and Troy, this is a Denver defense that already has 2 very good cornerbacks, and it looks like they can add the rookie to that list. Bozo Adams almost started too soon again as Spaeth makes a catch at the 40 for a first down.
You know, this is a secondary group that, you know, got revamped last year. 3 of the 4 guys all new a year ago, and in an area that needed improvement, and they were awfully good last season.
Dixon on first down has a pocket, comes underneath. Penalty flag is thrown. Merweldy Moore fights his way inside the 30, but a flag is down. An 11-yard completion to Moore. Now Josh McDaniels is wondering what Dixon will do against his defense.
Illegal contact, defense number 59. His penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
That's Woodyard, who had that hit on Dixon earlier. Coming up at the half, Pam will talk to the 3 Denver quarterbacks. An update on the situation with Ben Roethlisberger, who started in this game, and the big games coming up this season right here in high def on Fox. 46 seconds left, 2 timeouts remaining for Pittsburgh. Dixon with time, now buys some more and flips it out of bounds in the direction of Sanders.
Yeah, real good coverage there by that secondary group. And, you know, as I was talking about, Champ Bailey, the only guy that returned last season, you know, after the 08 year, they knew they needed to get better on the back end, and they did. Last season, finishing 3rd in the National Football League in pass defense. The problem, however, is, as we talked about, was how many yards they were giving up in the running game. Last game of the season against Kansas City, they rushed for over 300 yards in that game. And so this year, that's where they put the attention, and they brought in Justin Bannon and Jamal Williams, hoping to shore that up.
Getting a little bigger up front. 38 seconds left in the half. Dixon drops it off underneath, and that is Antonio Brown. The rookie is forced out right at the marker. Antonio Brown, who was 2nd in MAC history with 305 career receptions, has been very good so far this preseason. And has shown a lot at the receiver position. If he shows anything returning kicks, he could very well make this roster.
A couple of weeks ago in a preseason game, Antonio Brown made some catches, and he started dancing and got a little flamboyant in his celebrations, and they nicknamed him Rod Tidwell from Jerry Maguire. So he's not doing that anymore.
He got enough for a first down. Dixon is hit, and down he goes, and there is Robert Ayers. He had one erased earlier. This one won't be, and that's his 2nd sack of this preseason. Good news for the Denver defense.
We're going to see, he starts up inside, then he comes around, or starts outside, sets him up, and then comes underneath, and that's that inside pressure that I talked about. And even for Dennis Dixon, a guy who moves awfully well, that's a hard one to escape when you get someone in your face as fast as what Ayers was there.
So how do they replace Elvis Dumervil, who is out, had surgery for a torn pec tendon and muscle damage in his chest? He led the league in sacks last year with 17. It was his first year as a linebacker, former defensive end. Hit 5 sacks the year before, 12.5 in 07. Got a 5-year extension. There is Don Wink Martindale, the first-year defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. He replaces Mike Nolan. Dumervil signed that extension in July, and now they're trying to fill in for him. They need something from Robert Ayers on the other side. 2nd and 19. Pass is picked off down the sideline. Goodman. Dixon to beat. Touchdown, Andre Goodman. No flags. With 11 seconds left in the half, Andre Goodman, 77 yards on an interception return for a touchdown.
Well, Andre Goodman, you're going to see he sits on this route, 9-year veteran, and he's reading the receiver, the top of the screen, and as soon as he starts to drop his shoulders, Andre Goodman drives on the ball. We've seen the Steelers now go to that route a couple of times, and Goodman, being the veteran that he is, he sniffed it out, got a good jump on the ball, and takes it in for the touchdown.
Stepped in front of Emmanuel Sanders, the rookie. There's a reaction from second-year head coach Josh McDaniels. So far 0-2 this preseason, but his defense makes another play. And for Dennis Dixon, a guy who hadn't thrown an interception this entire camp and preseason, he has 2 so far in limited work tonight.
And that's on me. I jinxed him when I said when he came in that he hadn't thrown one. He hadn't thrown one in the preseason. He hadn't even thrown one in practice. And then he comes out here tonight with his big opportunity to show what he was capable of doing and trying to earn the starting spot here in week 1. And he's just made some poor decisions. That one not so much, but the first one, that was a textbook case that he's just got to throw that one away.
These are good corners here in Denver. Dennis Dixon knows that better than anybody now.
I think that interception to Goodman, I think that's more on the receiver than it was on the decision by Dennis Dixon.
Again, it was intended for the rookie Emmanuel Sanders. Taking a knee is Antonio Brown. Brown is in a fight with Sanders to try and make this roster. Stephon Logan in that competition as well. And Goodman, even in this high altitude, isn't huffing and puffing. He comes back out there. What will probably be kneel down time with 11 seconds left in the half in what is a 17-3 Bronco lead over the Steelers.
Yeah, I think that if you looked at Denver defensively and what they were able to do, I don't know. I think that the run defense, as I said, this secondary is going to be good. Now, how much pressure, as you talked about, Joe, can they get without Elvis Dumervil? I think with the corners they have, they'll be able to do some things to get pressure, but run defense, Rashard Mendenhall, limited carries, but ran the ball awfully well. I don't know that they come out of this first half anyway feeling real good about what they did in that area.
What are you thinking about having at halftime for a snack?
Well, hopefully a hot dog. I don't know about you, but options are limited.
They are limited. We'll be dining on hot dogs, maybe chicken sandwiches while we watch the interview Pam Oliver had with the 3 Denver quarterbacks. 17-3 Broncos at the half. Back with more after this from your local Fox station. (17-3), the Denver Broncos lead it at the half. About to start the second half, and we welcome you inside our booth. Troy is had his little snack, and I'll ask you, is there anything we learned from the first half of football here tonight?
Well, if we didn't know it already, we now know how much that the Steelers team needs Ben Roethlisberger. And so to kind of go back to what we've said here in this first half is this is a real concern. We're getting an opportunity to see what Byron Leftwich could do. I guess if it's an even race coming out of this preseason, they're going to go with the veteran guy. But when you're talking 4 games, I mean, you're at least 4 games. That's a quarter of the season, and those will be important ball games that they're playing. And so for a team that has such high expectations and is so good in so many areas, to have that maybe hold them back early in the season, that's a real problem.
Denver capitalized on some Steeler miscues. The 2 interceptions thrown by Dixon. 6 penalties, 4 of them personal fouls against the defense. And Pittsburgh will start this second half with the football as Stephon Logan watches it bounce over his head and out of the back of the end zone. So Pittsburgh will start at their 20. We'll see more from Dennis Dixon. There's a comparison of the 2 Pittsburgh quarterbacks this evening.
Yeah, and just to follow up on what I was saying, I know Hines Ward has weighed in on it this week, and I think that his statements are probably shared by all the guys in that locker room, that they want to know. They want to know who the quarterback's going to be. You go out there to practice. He says he's catching balls, from both of these guys, not knowing exactly who the starter is going to be. Now there's still time. I mean, they're out there going through the drills and doing the things that they do, but a decision does need to be made, and my guess is that they'll make that decision following this ball game tonight.
Weldy Moore gets it, and he gets it. Play is made by Mario Hagan, who's been moved back to the inside after the Broncos initially tried to put him in the spot vacated by the injured Elvis Dumervil.
Well, Mario Hagan comes untouched right in the middle of that offensive line, and then gets Moore, in the backfield. And yeah, Hagan is the one who got moved around a little bit after the injury to Dumervil, and he's now back where he's most comfortable, inside.
He is a big linebacker, 267 pounds. And a free agent that came to the Broncos in 08. Second down and 13. The pass is complete to Weldy Moore for a first down. A 15-yard completion from Dennis Dixon, and Andre Goodman is slow to get up. May be worn out from that 77-yard interception return for a touchdown. The Broncos have to hope that's all it is.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, every coach's nightmare is coming into this ball game, any preseason game, but particularly this game, because your starters are going to get exposed the most in this ball game, and you just don't want to see anybody go down that's going to be unable to play then when the regular season begins.
Looks fine. He got up and jogged off the field. We'll take a break. Moore's a little banged up. Goodman seems fine on the Denver sideline. Steelers have it down 17-3.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by Verizon, the official wireless service provider of the NFL.
Andre Goodman got up and jogged off the field. Tim Tebow is getting loose. While the Steelers have the ball, first down, trailing by 14. And the handoff is to Jonathan Dwyer, who so far hasn't shown much. He gains 2 over the right side. He's been bothered by a shoulder injury. He missed last week's game against the Giants, and he's a 6th-round pick out of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, a guy who played in the triple option there at Georgia Tech, and so this is a real learning curve for him, and a guy who, when you play when you play in the triple option, you're not getting a lot of balls thrown to you.
And the big receiver with Georgia Tech in that triple option offense was Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, what balls were thrown, he was the one catching them all.
First-round pick of the Broncos. Out still with a sore foot. Here he is again, Dwyer over the right side. And he picks up a yard. Third down coming up for Pittsburgh.
I ran that triple option there for about it. Yeah, I had a cup of coffee there at Oklahoma, and
that's why you left. Look, I don't know if you know who you're dealing with. I'm Troy Aikman, and I don't run the triple option.
Well, not at 6'4" and a 4.8 40. I mean, I was just a tackling dummy for whoever we played against, and I didn't play long.
Third down and 7. Dixon with a good pocket around him, throws, has Hines Ward, who gets smacked out of bounds. It's a first down catch, and it was Nate Jones, who is the utility back, in the words of Don Martindale, the defensive coordinator, who forced him out.
Well, good protection up front that afforded him the time then to let Hines Ward, Marquise Pouncey, the center. I mean, I've been impressed with what I've seen of him tonight. Now, I haven't obviously seen every single snap and haven't focused on him extensively, but you know what I have seen, he's done a real good job of not allowing much pressure there inside, particularly in pass protection.
It is a cherished position in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, that center position. The first rounder out of Florida at the age of 20 seems to have it in his grasp. As Dixon cuts back and has some room to run right up the middle of the field, and Dennis Dixon is down inside the 30. That's the element that Dixon brings to this offense that Leftwich and certainly Roethlisberger cannot. A 29-yard run and a big gallop by Dennis Dixon.
Yeah, again, because of great protection up front there by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dixon had time to get rid of that football, just nowhere to go with it, and then you know he's able to create plays, and that's the thing that is so exciting about him. And he's got a package of plays when he's in that they want to get to that get him on the move. And you know, you've got Flozell Adams, he's battling,
working on Lee Keevan Smith. There's Pouncey, the center, snapping it to Dixon, who hands to Weldon Moore over the right side, and he tries to push the pile. Comes up with a 3-yard gain. You talk about the center position for the Steelers. Damani Dawson actually made it, longtime Steeler, to the final 10 in the Hall of Fame voting, and so he is on the fast track into Canton. And Mike Webster, one of the greatest of all time at that position, went in 1997, and now Marquise Pouncey is trying to take that job away from Justin Hartwood.
Well, and you name the guys that you named, and then it's not surprising when you think back over the history of this franchise why they've been so good running the football. They've always had a great centerpiece there at center.
Here's Moore to the 20 on second down. The biggest cheerleader since Dixon came in the game has been Ben Roethlisberger. He's over there throwing a towel down and having fun and joking and talking to his offensive line when they come back off the field. And I would imagine for a guy like Roethlisberger, who's suspended for at least the first 4 games, you realize how much you love what you do when they take it away from him.
Yeah, I wonder what he's going to do during the time that he's out. I mean, where is he going to throw? I guess he can do like Brett Favre and go throw to some high school kids somewhere. But, you know, really, I mean, where is he going to be able to simulate what it's like so that when he does come back, he can step in and play at a relatively high level?
It's 3rd down and 4. Dixon flushed out of the pocket. They're going to call a hold on Kemoeatu. So even though it's a first down run, Chris Kemoeatu guilty of a hold, and this will come back.
Holding, offense number 68. 10-yard penalty, repeat, 3rd down.
As you said, Kemoeatu, you got Jarvis Green, who took an inside path, and you know that was the direction then that Dennis Dixon was rolling out, and Kemoeatu just grabbed him.
That's the 7th Steeler penalty of this game. It's 3rd down and 14 now.
You know, sorry, Joe, I do find it interesting, you know, talking about how the Steelers have said they want to get back to running the football a little bit more. People forget they actually ran the ball better last year than they did the year before that when they won the Super Bowl. You know, and it all comes back to if you win, whatever it is that you're doing seems to be just fine, and if you're not, then it's not good enough.
Play clock almost expired, and what a throw and catch. Maybe the catch more impressive by Tyler Grisham, who is brought down short of a first down. Make it 4th down and short, but that was a throw into traffic, and Grisham stuck his hands and his neck out there.
Yeah, he was exposed a little bit because there you see that Dixon had to fit that ball in between 2 defenders. Got a pretty good look there on DJ Williams, who had a chance to clean him up.
Lost his footing. Grisham the catch, and now on 4th down and a yard, the Steelers look like they're going to go for it. Now we'll call timeout.
Well, I think this is a good thing because, as I said earlier, this is an area that they really struggled, and you get a chance to work on this.
And there he is, Ben Roethlisberger, now a cheerleader. Steelers will talk over a 4th and 1. We'll have it when we come back. It's a 4th down for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, and you said it, and I agree with you. Why not go for it and see if you can pick it up?
Boy, they had a lot of problems in 1-yard situations, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 a year ago. And it's just a matter of can the big man up front get any kind of movement.
Willie Moore is the tailback. Redmond's in front of him. And Dixon keeps it, stays on his feet, but can't pick up the 1st down. First guy there was Alphonso Smith. And a loss of 6 on 4th and 1. First one there, Alphonso Smith. There he is, number 22, but he was not alone. Well played by Denver as they hold on 4th down. Well, here he is. Tim Tebow takes over for the Broncos, up by 14 points. 2-time national champion, finalist for the Heisman 3 straight years. He won it in 2007. 2-time first-team All-American, 35-6 as a starter. Threw for 88 touchdowns, rushed for 57 for the Gators. And a highly scrutinized first-round draft pick made by the Broncos. Tebow hands it off and hands to Lance Ball, left side. Kiesel makes the stop and a loss of 1 on the play.
Well, this crowd sure gave him an ovation when they found out he was out there on the field getting ready to play.
Denver traded back into the 1st round. They traded a pick in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds to get it. And they sold a ton of jerseys, the Friar Tuck haircuts, whatever it is. And so much has been talked about Troy with his mechanics and his ability to play quarterback at this level. 2nd and 11. And there was movement before Tebow got the ball. It's a false start.
False start, offense, number 68. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
That's Zane Beatles, who started this game at left tackle, and it has been Tebow mania. That comes with it. I mean, that's part of the equation with drafting Tim Tebow. One of the reasons why a lot of people thought he'd end up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, to get interest in the franchise, to sell jerseys, to be the face of a franchise, and they love him already here in Denver.
Yeah, and there was talk that he may end up in Buffalo as well. I think the 2 teams, it seemed, that were interested in taking him in the 1st round were Denver, and I know Buffalo had a real interest in him. But
timeout.
Certainly
Denver, this is their first.
One of the most polarizing.
32nd timeout.
One of the most polarizing figures to come into the league as a rookie in quite some time. And you know, everybody's got an opinion on Tim Tebow as to what kind of quarterback he's going to be. And you know, I said coming into the draft, I was asked about him, and I said, you know, he's a guy that I'd love to have on my team. You know, who wouldn't want a guy like Tim Tebow? A great work ethic. He's got some ability. He's a big, strong guy. He's smart. He's a great leader. You know, so many places, so many things you can do with a guy like that. I was surprised, though, I'll be honest with you, that he went in the 1st round. I mean, you don't draft a quarterback in the 1st round and then not say he's your franchise guy. I mean, this is your guy, and they're going to have to do things a little bit differently than what they have done, certainly with Kyle Orton.
2nd and 16, where the ball's coming up slow into the hands of Tebow, who completes it to Brandon Lloyd. And Lloyd is good out to the 30-yard line, a completion of 12 yards.
Well, this is a good way to get him started, too. You know, good job there by Josh McDaniels off play action, and just try to get him settled. He hadn't played in a couple weeks since he got banged up there at the goal line, and give him an easy completion. Good route by Brandon Lloyd there on the outside.
Broncos obviously have a 2- or 3-year plan for Tim Tebow to settle in at this position. Part of that is the extension that was signed by Kyle Orton during camp. Quick setup and throw. He had Eddie Royal wide open for a 1st down and missed him.
And I think that right there is the concern. You know, he was a 66% passer there at Florida, but I don't know that that's real indicative of the type of accuracy he has as a quarterback. And I think anytime you start messing with his delivery, as has been the case, you know, here in Denver, you're asking for some troubles as far as I'm concerned. I think you take a guy's in the National Football League because he's proven that he can play with what he has, and I've never been in favor of changing a quarterback's throwing motion at this level.
Booming punt by Colquitt. I mean, just a beauty. Taken in at the 11 by Stephon Logan, and there's nowhere to go. He's out to the 16. That's it. When we come back, John Lynch, longtime Tampa Bay Buck, 4-year Denver Bronco, will join us in the booth. 17-3 Broncos.
Tonight's game is sponsored by Toyota. By Best Buy. Get the best of the web on your TV. Best Buy. Buy or be happy. And by Resident Evil Afterlife in 3D. In theaters September 10th. Rated R.
Ben Roethlisberger played the entire first quarter. Then Dennis Dixon took over. And now with 6.5 left in the third quarter, Byron Leftwich takes over at the controls for the Steelers, who are down by 14 points.
It looks like they need to wake Byron Leftwich up. Looks like he's falling asleep going to the line of scrimmage.
Dwyer is the lone setback, and Leftwich, that long delivery, throws incomplete. And I mentioned that John Lynch would join us coming back. Now here's a guy who had all those great years, 9-time Pro Bowler at safety, the Bucs. 4 years here with the Denver Broncos, and I had to witness you putting on a press pass to come into tonight's game. They forget quickly, don't they?
Well, not everybody's this guy here in Dallas, but
he wears them
yeah,
too.
they forget quickly.
You know, you spent some time with this Pittsburgh Steelers club after we had our seminar, and I want to ask you about them. I also want to ask you about what we've seen tonight on the Denver side. Franchise you're familiar with your years here with the Broncos, as Dwyer goes backward. It is a loss of 2 on the play, and an injured player is down for the Broncos. It looks like Woodyard. So we've seen a lot here tonight, John Lynch, and we are going to come back and stay here, come back on camera. We'll take it from the Pittsburgh side, and we've talked about it. Ben Roethlisberger looked pretty sharp here early, and Dennis Dixon, you were just saying you were glad that Mike Tomlin put him back out there after a pretty rough second quarter.
Yeah, I think that was wise. You know, I talked to Mike Tomlin on the field before, and Dennis Dixon's a guy who, when he's been in previously last year, they've always given him a condensed package. Tonight, they wanted to take off the training wheels, as Mike Tomlin said, and see what the kid could do. I thought he played fairly well. He made some bad decisions that culminated in 2 interceptions, but he had a nice drive there. They didn't turn it into points. They got shut down on the 4th down, but I thought he had a nice drive that will probably give him some confidence as he moves forward.
You know, talk a little bit about that, John. I think a lot of people here would say, yeah, you played in Denver, you know Denver very well, but then you were telling me prior to the game you spent some time there at the Steelers training camp, and be curious to know what you saw from them in some of their workouts.
Meanwhile, it's 3rd down and 12. Woodyard looked okay coming off the field, and Leftwich with a pocket around him slings it over the middle, incomplete. Looking for a penalty flag is Tyler Grisham, and he won't get the flag. And it's a quick 3-and-out for Byron Leftwich. Let's watch Grisham come across.
Yeah, Grisham, he's in the inside route there, and he's trying to get across his face, and you know, definitely contact was made, and I think Grisham has a case there for illegal contact.
It was Alfonso Smith who had his arms around him, but no call. Sidquan Thompson is waiting for the punt from Sepulveda. Takes it from just outside the 40. And the rookie, with a penalty flag down, is into Pittsburgh territory and wrestled down inside the 40, but there's a marker down. So we'll get the call from Tony Correnti. A lot of flags in this game. And we'll continue our chat with John Lynch.
During the return of the kick, personal foul, grabbing the face mask, the receiving team.
So it's against Denver. That'll move him back. A 22-yard return will be wiped away. We'll take a break. Tim Tebow will be on the field when we return. Field position won't be as great as it was prior to the penalty. 17-3 Broncos. On September 12th, we'll start our day with the Ford Fox NFL pregame show at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. There are the early matchups. Panthers, Giants, Falcons, Steelers, Lions, Bears. Troy and Pam and I will be with the Packers and the Eagles, and John Lynch will be in St. Louis for the Arizona Cardinals and the St. Louis Rams. Possibly the regular season debut of Sam Bradford as Lance Ball carries it against either Derek Anderson or Matt Leinart. They're now waffling on that decision with Arizona. But you were talking about you spending some time with the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin let you have all access, getting into meetings and everything else.
No, it was pretty nice. I worked with Mike, obviously, at Tampa, and he tried to talk me into coaching last year, but with 4 kids, that doesn't work so hot. So I gave this a shot and had a blast up there. I think they've got a very good football team. I really do. They've just got to weather the storm with Ben out, and I think if they can just hold serve there, they're going to be all right.
2nd down and 7. Pass from Tebow is complete for a first down to Matthew Willis. And a nice completion of 12 yards. Tebow misfired on that wide open 3rd down pass, but this was a better throw.
You see the exchange there. You know, this is something that Tim Tebow has got to make a little bit of an adjustment to. He was primarily a shotgun quarterback there at Florida, and it's a big difference then when you're being asked to take the ball from the center and then run your drops from that position, as opposed to standing back there at 5-6 yards and taking the ball in a shotgun.
From the Denver 49, play action pass. Tebow throws and completes again over the middle to Matthew Willis. An 18-yard completion from the guy whose jersey is all over this crowd at Invesco Field at Mile High Stadium.
Pretty good poise right there by Tim Tebow, waiting on Willis to clear and then delivering a ball that he could catch. See, you got who that is there that got backed right up into him. He's fortunate that Tebow didn't bang a hand. That's oftentimes when you see a broken thumb.
It was Spencer Larson, the fullback, who blocks here for Lance Ball over the right side. The helmet is off. Chris Hope on that play and a gain of 7. And we heard a little bit. There's so much more to talk about with regard to Tebow from Troy Aikman, but from your defensive side of the ball, what do you see with Tim Tebow, and what are your thoughts on him as quarterback here in Denver, John Lynch?
I think it's a great draft choice. I think people fail to remember that he was the 2nd of their first draft choices, so it's not taking as big of a risk if people think it's a risk as people think.
Here's Ball again over the right side. Has a lane and has a first down just inside the 15, brought down by Larry Foote.
No, but I really subscribe to the theory that if you're a winner, you're a winner. And this guy's won everywhere he's been. I've been around him some here in town, and he does have a special presence about him that if I were a coach or an owner and spent some time around him, I'd want him on my side, and he's electrified. You know, frankly, there's been some apathy in this organization, which hasn't ever been the case. And sometimes you need somebody like that to re-inspire an organization, and he certainly has done that.
Justin Fargas gets his first carry of the game. Longtime Oakland Raider is tripped up over the right side, picked up 3.
I don't think there's any question that, you know, with Tebow and his track record and the fact that he has, you know, won and inspired everywhere that he's been, you know, it would take on a little different look. And, you know, the thing I would worry about is this was a guy who carried the ball over 200 times last year in Florida. Now, I don't think that's going to happen in the National Football League, but yet if you're going to really utilize his abilities, then he has got to be able to run the ball. And I don't care if you're 245 pounds. I don't know if that's the guy you're dependent on every single week. You want him taking those kinds of hits. Maybe he can handle it.
Rolls out to his left and throws across his body, incomplete, nearly picked off. And we go back to the first week of the preseason at Cincinnati, and well, here is Tim Tebow, Troy, running the ball, and at the end of the game pounding it in, but then getting absolutely drilled by Abdul Hodge, a linebacker who crunched him and bruised his ribs.
And I don't think you can coach that out of him. I mean, he'll learn. I mean, you'll learn when you're not going to get any more yards, but you know, that's his style. And you know, that's a collision, John. I mean, you had a lot of those, and you know, no matter how big you are as a quarterback typically just is not accustomed to taking the kind of hits at this level. I remember one time when I was a second-year player, we were optioning Carl Banks at the end of the offensive line, and I came down the line running that triple option I was telling you about earlier, and Carl Banks had one thing in mind, and that was to take my head off, and he almost did. And my helmet was sideways, and we never ran that play again. But you can't, you know, these boys hit a little harder than what they do in college.
And I got to be honest with you, and I'm sorry about this, but when a quarterback's running and running free, it's just something ingrained in you. You always have a little juice you want to hurt, but when you get a quarterback up there, you really want to hurt him.
Yeah.
And you saw it with James Harrison on the interception.
Yeah, and he was trying to score a touchdown.
He's just returning the ball. He's trying to dig his hat into Kyle Orton's back there.
There's a reason I didn't like you guys. Are we done with this guy? Are we done with him?
No, he's staying around. He's got a good smile. He's got a good laugh. So we'll keep him around. And, well, we're seeing a decent drive being put together here by Tim Tebow, who's trying to prove here against the Pittsburgh defense that he can move this team. It's 3rd down and 6. Rookie Eric Decker is at the top of the screen. Tebow hangs in, throws, and right off the arms of Eric Decker. Off his chest, pretty good throw. Decker couldn't handle it.
That was a real well thrown ball there by Tebow. Put it in traffic and having to put one on him, and he was able to do it. This one comes right off his shoulder pads, and it should have been a 1st down.
It's Decker, one of the guys the Broncos hope eventually will replace the likes of a Tony Scheffler or Brandon Marshall, along with fellow rookie Demaryius Thomas. Decker is a 3rd-round pick out of Minnesota. Here's Prater, hit from 39. He got a huge leg, and he drills this one from 29. A new feature this year on the NFL on Fox is we will talk to Mike Pereira, who was the director of officiating for the NFL. Now he's on our side. And there he is at a safe location somewhere in the western United States. And maybe we'll talk to him, maybe we won't when we come back. You'll just have to wait and find out. So while we tease that, we stay here and we wait for the kickoff from Denver to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let's be honest, okay, you're fresher out of the game than Troy, but when you're playing, and we try to get through the rules up here in the broadcast booth, when you're playing, be honest, how well do you know the rule book when you're down there on the field flying around trying to take people's heads off?
I learned that real quick when I stepped in the booth last year. You thought you know the rules. You really don't know the rules. And I got a lot of referees I've had to apologize to in the last year. Guys I wore out thinking I really knew the rules, and as a player you have a fairly good grasp, but you don't know all the intricacies. And I wish I had Mike Pereira in a booth when I was playing.
It gives you a whole different appreciation for what these guys do.
Sure does.
I mean, it really does. It's amazing that they can sort through it the way that they do. I think they do a fabulous job.
So now we'll see more from Byron Leftwich as Stephon Logan will catch it over his shoulder, and it's a touchback. And Leftwich go back on the field. We look at the Pittsburgh offensive leaders. Roethlisberger started pretty sharp, but then Dennis Dixon threw a couple of interceptions, and now Leftwich. And I think at the end of this, while the competition guys seemed wide open coming in, and Dennis Dixon, he's made the choice tough. If Leftwich plays well the rest of this game, he may very well cement himself as the starting quarterback.
Well, I don't know how you don't go with him. I mean, really, the veteran guy, he's won games in this league. You got to believe that he's going to be consistent enough and not make some of the mistakes that we saw from Dennis Dixon there in that first half.
Leftwich is hit, throws, and he's nearly picked off.
And John commented on it a little bit that this defense for Pittsburgh, they were good last year. They should be back to playing the way that we've seen them just dominate. The one thing that they didn't do last year was get the takeaways. But anytime you're playing with a defense, and you obviously know this, John, you were a part of some really great ones that, I hate the saying, and I don't mean this because they always say, hey, we don't need the quarterback to win a game, just don't lose it. I think there's more to playing quarterback, but having said that, they're going to be in a lot of games and win a lot of games if they don't throw interceptions at that position.
2nd down and 10. Leftwich pulls it down and now throws over the middle, incomplete for Grisham. And a penalty flag comes in. It's Wink Martindale upset. The first-year defensive coordinator, Alfonso Smith, came away arguing.
Pass interference, defense, number 22. Automatic first down.
That's Smith, and that's the automatic first down.
And Troy, I think you make a great point, in particular in these first 4 or 6 games, whatever it is, when Ben Roethlisberger's going to be out on his suspension. I think you've got to go back to some old school Steeler football, running the football, with effectiveness, at least when you want to run the football and playing defense. And I think that will come with Troy Polamalu, Aaron Smith being back. They'll be back to form on defense.
That was the next guy I was going to ask you about. As a handoff is to Jonathan Dwyer, the rookie. I know Pittsburgh's running the ball and they're on offense right now, but Troy Polamalu is that super safety that can fly around. He can hit like a linebacker. He can cover. He can run. I mean, he's so unique. And when he was out, I loved what Ryan Clark said about him. He said the field was so much bigger without him out there.
He's John Lynch with all the hair. Right? I mean, that was you.
I wish I could do a lot of things this guy does. And the problem is when you got a guy like that, Dick LeBeau trusts and trusts him so much. He does so much. No one can replace what he's doing on that field.
Here is a handoff to Dwyer. They just got it to him. And Dwyer slides down the sideline. They're going to mark him out at midfield. I mean, Leftwich just got it into his arms. And then Dwyer, the rookie, had room to run 18 yards and a first down.
Yeah, two defenders right there and able to make the play and just chose the wrong guy. Go after the quarterback. Dwyer's able to split him and turn this into a pretty nice game.
Time is running down on this third quarter. 37 seconds and counting. Ball at midfield. Leftwich at the controls. John Lynch with us in the broadcast booth. Dwyer at tailback. That was a broken play. Leftwich was looking for something and it wasn't there, and now penalty flag comes in. Could have been on Dwyer, the rookie running back. Might have gone the wrong way.
An eligible member of the offense downfield out of pass number 72. 5-yard penalty remains first down.
They get Jonathan Scott. That was supposed to be a running play. That's why he was downfield, but the rookie Dwyer may have gone the wrong way. We ask you or tell you that you can play NFL.com's all new fantasy game, the first and only game with video. It's free and easy to play. Sign up today at fantasy.nfl.com. 16 seconds left in the third quarter. Dwyer still out there. And he is smacked. That was Joe Mays, who was a late addition to this roster, traded from Philadelphia in to make the tackle. John Lynch, thanks for joining us. Have a great season with the NFL on Fox.
Thanks, John. With you guys. Thank you.
A tremendous player and part of our team. 23 Denver. Back after this from your local Fox station. Little midseason music for you. Fourth quarter begins. Starting at the 43-yard line at 2nd down and 17. For Leftwich. He's got pressure. Down he goes, and it's Mays cleaning up. A loss of 11.
That's twice now. Mays has basically come untouched. You're going to see him right here, and Jonathan Scott tries to pick him up late, but not in time, and that was even after Leftwich had already gotten pressure there inside. Jason Hunter, another one of those guys that they're evaluating at the linebacker position, and that's tough duty on any quarterback when you're turning guys loose the way that they just did.
And Jason Hunter, the first one there, 4 years a defensive end in the NFL, now trying to learn the outside linebacker spot, released by Detroit, and this offense has gone backward. Jonathan Dwyer is wrapped up by Jason Hunter. So I guess he's picking up how to play linebacker as he's made a couple of plays, and Dixon was average at best, and now the offense is going backward under the direction of Byron Leftwich.
And, you know, you talk about a guy having to go from a three-point stance defensive end to a stand-up linebacker. I mean, I can't fathom how difficult that might be to constantly have your hand on the ground and now being asked to be athletic, not only rush the quarterback from that position, but also cover people out of the backfield. Jason Hunter doing a nice job.
Saquon Thompson on the return. Good punt by Sepulveda. And old Saquon Thompson, he can return punts. He had a good one earlier, wiped away by a penalty. This time a 14-yard return. Thompson shown something returning punts. So is Tebow at quarterback. He's back to work.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by McDonald's, by Devil, from the mind of M. Night Shyamalan on September 17th. Devil. And by Windows 7.
Tim Tebow back to the huddle. 20-3. The Denver Broncos have been in charge really from the beginning. Got an early touchdown run from Lendale White. They've never trailed. Lead by 17. Lance Ball at tailback. And he makes a move, gets around one tackler and takes it out across the 35. Let's go down to Pam Oliver with Hines Ward.
And Hines, I'm just curious how you're handling everything and just how you're going to approach the season. What is your outlook with this quarterback mess?
You know what? We're trying to just figure out who's going to be our starting quarterback. This is the first time I actually took some reps with Dennis today, so it's a learning experience. He got a chance to go out there, and it's just a case of making young mistakes. Instead of trying to reach it down the end zone, he needs to just throw it out of bounds. And then they pulled all of us and put the second and third string wideouts in there, and he's got interception for a touchdown and stuff like that. So it's a learning experience for him. But Dennis is going to be a good player. It's just a matter of just giving him some time, giving him some reps. He's going to be all right. But until then, we still don't know who's our starting quarterback.
You've always been straight with me. How has Ben welcome back to the team?
Ben's good. I mean, he made a mistake in his life, and we're all trying to help him move on and get better. And he's done an excellent job with that, staying extra, signing for the fans, try to, get that rapport back with the fan relationship. And as far as the player, on and off the field, hanging out and just, mingling now, it's part of a family, where before, sometimes we really didn't know what was really going on because he kept to himself most of the time.
Okay, we'll let you go on that one. Thank you.
Okay, anytime.
It's an interception by Cresdon Butler, and he is forced out at the 5. He picks off Tim Tebow. And the turnover from number 15.
Well, watch Butler. He's cluing in on Tebow the entire way. Plus, he was playing inside leverage there, so he was able to drive on that ball pretty well. And that, that really is the type of things that these preseason games are great for Tim Tebow, because the hardest thing for any quarterback coming into this league is understanding the relationship between receivers and defensive backs and how much quicker these guys drive on the ball. In college, you make that throw, that defensive back's not able to come up and make a play. In the NFL, he's watching you, and with that kind of separation between receiver and corner, you've got to be awfully careful and you've got to be precise on where you place that ball. He'll learn from that.
Tebow was the one that forced him out. He'll now go talk to Josh McDaniels. You saw Butler step out at the 4. They marked him at the 5. That's where the Steelers will take over with Leftwich as they trail by 17. 12:44 left in the game. Now Kyle Orton comes over to talk to Tim Tebow after the interception. 1st and goal.
That's the last time when you want to see the starting quarterback come over and talk to you.
Here's what you did wrong. From the 5. Pass is tipped in the air, incomplete, intended for Arnaz Battle.
How about Arnaz Battle, Joe? I mean, here's a guy who spent his first 8 years in San Francisco, and in 8th season had 8 different offensive coordinators. And he almost got put on the injury list right there. I mean, that was a ball that Byron Leftwich tried fitting in there, and if you do that, you got to keep it low to try to protect these receivers.
Saquon Thompson came in to make the hit. 2nd and goal. Dwyer gets it over the right side. He's got the edge and the touchdown. So for the first time, the Steelers get in the end zone inside the red zone. They've been 0 for 4 trying to score touchdowns. They're now 1 for 5.
Kyle McCarthy, the safety for Denver, was in a position actually to make a play on that, but he just got, you're going to see they come out and they hook him right there, and he should have been able to make that play, and Dwyer's just able to run right through it. Pretty big physical runner.
So Dwyer rushed for 3,200 yards. 6th best total in Georgia Tech history. The rookie takes it into the end zone, and it's a 10-point game. Set up by the interception of Tebow and the 40-yard return by Cresdon Butler. Touchdown, Steelers down 10. Steelers take advantage of the interception of Tebow, turn it into 7 points. Now Reed will kick. Sepulveda had been kicking off. Tebow will head back to work. And Matthew Willis is waiting deep for the Denver Broncos. And Willis gets it on a bounce. Nice move up the middle across the 25-yard line. We showed you the Fox Command Center, which really has a really impressive name, the Fox Command Center. We want to welcome in Mike Pereira, former director of officiating for the NFL and now a member of our broadcast crew at Fox. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Troy. It's been a great day here at the Command Center. I think this is a great thing that Fox is doing. We've had to give a lot of input on rules and things that happen during the game. It's going to be terrific.
Now you're not stuck there. I mean, they let you out of there at the end of games, right? You're not there continually.
I don't know. They haven't told me yet, but I did hear a latch, like something locked. So I am a little bit worried about. They haven't even fed me yet, so I'm getting a little nervous.
Well, good to see you're not getting any special treatment by Fox.
You're like the banker from Deal or No Deal. Mike, I'm going to ask you, deal or no deal?
No deal. No deal. Right. I'm sticking it out.
It's second down and 9, and there's pressure on Tebow, who hits Willis. Tebow got drilled, and Matthew Willis is good for 24. And Matthew Willis, Troy, has been impressive here in the limited time we've seen him.
Well, he sure has, and this is an impressive job by Tim Tebow, hanging tough, probably sensing that he had to get that ball out. Matthew Willis, a guy who didn't play football his last 2 years of high school or his first 3 years there at UCLA, was a track guy, undersized. Then he had a little bit of a growth spurt, getting a chance to play now after a couple of years on some practice teams.
Here's a toss to Lance Ball, running left, cuts upfield, and has a big play inside the 20, inside the 10. Mundy brings him down after a run of 40-plus yards. Lance Ball over the left side for 43.
Well, left guard Stanley Daniels, he's getting to play tonight and doing a good job. He's getting a hard look as to what kind of blocker he can be for this unit. He makes the key block. And then you've got Lance Ball, who's able to come right underneath that. I tell you, Lance Ball has been impressive, not just tonight, but he's been impressive in the amount of work that he has had. And he's trying to earn himself a roster spot as well.
Second-year player out of Maryland, came here as a free agent last year. And they stay with him. He's to the 3. Mike Pereira, so much has been made of the umpire and the repositioning, and I guess they're still tweaking the system where now, Mike, the quarterback looks at, I guess, either the line judge or the head linesman to be notified when the umpire is in position behind the offense?
Yeah, you've got some real issues that need to be addressed here. And the referees and the umpires are going to meet in Dallas on the Friday before the start of the season. And they have to figure out how to best notify the quarterback when they're in position, and also to notify him or figure out when the official's out of the way.
Here's a touchdown catch. The throw by Tebow, the catch by the rookie Decker. Rookie to rookie, and 6 points for the Broncos.
You know, what's nice is Tim Tebow recognizes immediately that Eric Decker is open, and that's why he pulled up as quickly as he could to get the ball out. And he wasn't able to put a lot on it, but he placed the ball right where it had to be. He anticipated the throw, got it to the sidelines, and a touchdown for the Broncos.
He's been able to move the ball, Tim Tebow. He threw the interception, but now he gets one to Decker, third-round pick out of Minnesota. And so Tim Tebow leads the Broncos in a 5-play, 74-yard drive that covered 2.5 minutes on the clock. And Decker is good for the touchdown catch. Now we go back to the Indianapolis game on Thursday, and a couple of times Peyton Manning was called for an illegal snap because the umpire now has to be behind and set behind the offense, and Manning was frustrated. That's the issue, isn't it, Mike Pereira? That umpire who's in for a workout now, having to either spot the ball or, even if he's not spotting it, get in place well behind the offense.
And I think, Joe, that's the big issue here. And you know, you can't, I don't think you can ask the quarterback to look to the sideline to actually wait for a signal from the head linesman or line judge, or turn around and look at the referee. I think you need really an audible whistle by the referee to say the officials are in position. And then I think in a hurry-up, what you got to really look at is what is considered a normal position. And if it's the umpire that spots the ball, if they arrive at some conclusion, like as long as he gets past the deepest back, then go ahead and hit a whistle and tell the quarterback it's okay to snap the ball. But I think the competition committee will have a phone conversation in the next couple of days, and they'll talk about it. And I think when the referees and umpires meet, they'll figure out a better system where it works smoother.
Here's Logan. He's going to take it out of the end zone. And he cannot make it to the 15-yard line. Troy had a follow-up, which we're not going to break. We'll give you. I mean, what does that mean to a quarterback, Troy, who has to look for the linesman to snap the ball?
Yeah, well, I think Mike makes a great point that in an attempt to try to protect the umpire and move him into a safer position, you're now asking the quarterback to do something mechanically different from anything he's ever done. And I don't think it's right. And I'm a little bit cynical when it comes to this particular rule change, and maybe most rule changes, in that, to me, it just wasn't very well thought out. And so, as is the case a lot of times, as I see it, they're kind of making adjustments on the run, and I just don't think that that's good. I think it's hard then as an offense to know what they have to do in order to function within this new rule change.
Charlie
False
Batch.
start, offense, number 64. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
It's Charlie Batch now in a quarterback, a false start. And so obviously Mike Pereira, the final chapter has not been written on this. But it would be hard, I would imagine, if they moved him back there for safety, then to reverse course and say, well, that's not an issue anymore. We're going to put him back to where he was. They're kind of wedded to this idea, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are. You can't say you want to put him in a safer position and acknowledge the fact that he's in danger and then put him back. But these are little things that'll pop up, and I think I agree with Troy. It probably wasn't thought out well enough, but they're solvable, and you can get most of these situations that need to be addressed and get it figured out.
How about the rookie Jonathan Dwyer? He won't go down.
Wow.
Mike, we're going to say goodbye. We are so glad that you're a part of our team, and we'll be checking in with you, I'm sure, more than you even realize at this point as we go through the season. Welcome aboard.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. I look forward to it.
All right, Joe, we talked about Jonathan Dwyer when he got in the game earlier and saying how much he had to learn coming from a triple option offense, and I'm going to retract that statement. Not so sure there was much he had to learn. Just get the ball and go and carry 5 or 6 guys on your back and pick up 10 yards.
They want him for short yardage in this offense. Those were 17 tough yards. Now he leaps a tackler. How about Dwyer? Trying to be brought down from behind, and he is at the 35, brought down by Bruton after a run of 40 yards.
I'm starting to see now why Demaryius Thomas, the first-round pick for the Broncos, had so many catches down the field. Everybody was having to worry about this guy. Here's the run a moment ago where he just moved the pile. Looked like Mark Bavaro at the tight end for the Giants years ago, and then this last one showing that he's actually got a little speed anyway once he gets out in the open field.
10 carries, 80 yards for Dwyer, and a touchdown.
Impressive night for the young man.
He's out. Justin Vincent is in for the Steelers, who trailing in by 17, and Vincent gets it. And just to put an end to the conversation tonight as to why they moved the umpire, and why the umpire, who's been in the middle of the defense, has been in such danger. Look at these collisions.
They just have nowhere to go. I mean, they're right in the middle of so much traffic that even if they see the guys coming, there's no way for them to protect themselves. And you're absolutely right, Joe. You know, the league then is subjected to liability, you know, if they were to move him back after acknowledging that it's a position of danger.
First of all, he's not wearing a helmet. He's usually a bigger guy, which I think really makes it more difficult for where they expect that umpire to go now with the rule change. Batch trying to keep it alive, floats it and completes it. What a toss to Justin Vincent. But a flag is down inside the 40 and will get the call.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 52, came in through a forearm into the quarterback, knocking to the ground.
That's Jason Hunter.
Yeah, that's an easy one there on Jason Hunter. A ball out of his hand, you still come in and helmet-to-helmet contact. You can get that every time. And there you've got Justin Vincent. Nice job there by Charlie Batch of just laying it so that Vincent could make the play. Defender had his back to the ball, wasn't looking. Good execution.
Completion of 20 yards, half the distance to the goal line, another 7. Ball is at the 7, first and goal. Pass complete for the touchdown. And the rookie Antonio Brown is in for the score, and the most impressive quarterback since number 7 left has been the veteran 13-year player Charlie Batch.
So now they've really got some questions. You know, Charlie Batch has just put himself right in the middle of this quarterback derby.
Where's Bubby Brister? Bring him back.
That was a good job by Charlie Batch. I mean, he really showed great poise. You'd expect to see that from a 13-year veteran, but good job of knowing exactly where to go with the football. And you know, he's one that's had limited reps, and that's what you're looking for. One of those guys who's going to come off the bench and contribute.
And he hadn't played at all.
Yeah.
So Charlie Batch, he's been doing it for a long time, takes the Steelers down the field. It's a 10-point game. There's the scoring drive. 2 for 2 was Charlie Batch. Dwyer was a big part of it, the rookie. Jonathan Dwyer, 6th round pick out of Georgia Tech. Used to be a heck of a draft that the Steelers had in April with the rookies and how they are contributing here tonight in the 3rd preseason game. And how about that tackle? That's Stephon Logan, who's usually on the other end of that. Matthew Willis got flipped by Logan.
Yeah, Logan came right through and was able to, well, he got untouched and put the kibosh there on Willis.
Now Brady Quinn is in a quarterback for the Broncos. And just one more point about the umpire. Because of those collisions, they've hired bigger-bodied guys to be umpires in the NFL. And now they're asking those bigger-bodied guys to be sprinters and get back behind the offense before the snap. You're going to have teams scouting who the umpires are and how quickly they get into position going into a game, knowing who the umpire is going to be for that weekend's game.
You're saying at one time they were looking for offensive guards, and now they're looking for wide receivers.
Right. Exactly. It's 2nd down and 10 after the incompletion from Brady Quinn, who Troy is kind of the forgotten guy after the deal that was made to bring him here from Cleveland for running back Peyton Hillis. In his 4th season. Bruce Hall is behind him, and he gets it. Nice run by Hall. And he's got a 1st down. Out across the 25. Well, fans, Fox Fantasy Football is back and better than ever. New draft rooms, greater customization, faster live scoring, and still 100% free. Play today at foxsports.com/fantasy. We did it last night. We had our draft and had a blast doing it in the hotel here in Denver.
Happy to say my first pick was Rashard Mendenhall.
That's true.
Buying into the 3-down back theory.
Pam Oliver selected first and took Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. Nice tackle on Bruce Hall. Made by Ryan Mundy, a backup safety. And there's our little war room as we had our draft board, and then we did it all online, which you can too. And our last year winners, the Hungry Z's, our producer Richie Zions, with a birthday boy, Rich Gross. He'll be out on the town in Denver tonight, people. Watch out for Rich Gross.
Yeah, I mean, hard to believe he's 40. He doesn't look that old.
It's 30.
Oh.
Second down and 9. And a toss to Bruce Hall. He's upended. And by the way, as that play was made by Joe Burnett, our commissioner is Dave Schwalbe, who celebrated a birthday last Friday. And he's also our spotter extraordinaire here in the booth.
You talked about Brady Quinn, and things haven't quite gone as well as what he had hoped when he came into the league, and he's got 12 career starts, and he's hoping that this is an opportunity for him, but hard to imagine that. They made a trade to bring him in, and then right after they make that trade, then they end up drafting Tebow, and I've got to believe right now he's just trying to put on a show for all those who will be watching.
And part of that show is to be sacked and in the arms of Reynold Williams.
Right off the edge, and you get the matchup on the linebacker on a running back, and that's hard. And nobody open down the field, so you see Brady Quinn, he's having to hold the ball a little bit. But there's a tendency then to say, gosh, what's holding Brady Quinn back? And physically, I think he's got all the skills. He certainly showed that in college there at Notre Dame. Had a wonderful career there.
Colquitt just got it away. And a fair catch called in by Stephon Logan. This week on Fox Saturday Baseball, good matchups. The NL Central leading Reds take on the Cardinals in St. Louis. And the AL West leading Rangers battle the Twins in a possible playoff preview. Of the Rockies, who are right in the thick of it in the wild card chase, take on the NL West leading Padres on Fox Saturday Baseball back-to-back weeks. That starts at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. High def here on Fox.
Talked about it last week, getting the Padres a little more airtime on Fox, and glad to see that they've obliged.
Ed Gorin called our booth immediately to tell you that they're going to be on probably 4 times down the stretch. Lost yesterday to Philly. Batch is just smoked, and he completes it out on the edge for a first down to Sanders. And even in his 13th year, Charlie Batch gets up after that hit. He was drilled, and Joe Mays was in there again.
Yeah, and Joe Mays, I mean, he's coming unblocked, and so we've seen Joe Mays now in a lot of those types of hits since he's come into the ball game, but they've been because nobody's blocked him and nobody has seen him coming. A guy that a lot of people thought was going to get a lot more playing time there in Philadelphia. They made the trade a few weeks back, and now he's trying to make a roster spot here on this Denver team.
17-yard completion to Emmanuel Sanders. So first down at the 40, and the pass is picked off. That's Saquon Thompson. He's had a nice night, and he adds a touchdown to his resume here this evening. The 7th round pick, a rookie out of Cal, and it's another interception for this Denver secondary.
Pretty easy one there for Saquon Thompson. Just a miscommunication there by Batch and the receiver on the outside. Batch thinking he's going to hook up. He keeps going, and nobody was there to try to make that play or at least break it up.
Sanders was out there, as was Tyler Grisham. The only one in position to make the catch was Saquon Thompson. It's now 34-17. A flag is thrown. A flag is thrown on that extra point. His name is Don Martindale. He goes by the nickname of Wink.
Illegal formation. Defense number 71 lined up illegally over the center. This 5-yard penalty will be enforced from the kickoff. The extra point is good.
So Wink Martindale, who's been heavily influenced in his coaching career by the Ryan family, nicknamed Wink, and those of us who are our age, Troy, and beyond, remember the great, and I mean the great, legendary game show host, Wink Martindale. I think it's more of a name thing, not necessarily a looks thing that would lead to Don being nicknamed Wink. The guy on your left of tic-tac-toe fame and right on down the line. I don't know, Card Sharks, was that one? Probably.
Well, I know that they're hoping that Wink can do some good things for this defensive unit, in particular that run defense. Hard to imagine that he has not been a defensive coordinator since 2003 when he was at Western Kentucky. Now he's been in the NFL. He was a linebackers coach last year here for the Denver Broncos, and then 4 years he was a linebacker coach in Oakland, but spent a lot of time at the collegiate level. And as you said, Joe, influenced by the Ryans, of course, with what Rex Ryan is doing there in Baltimore, and then having spent time with Rob Ryan in Oakland. And I know as a quarterback, what those guys do defensively is something that gives quarterbacks and offensive coordinators fits.
How about that kick from the 35 after the 5-yard penalty? And now Rex Ryan is a TV star with the New York Jets, and their show on HBO, Hard Knocks. That's appointment TV for me. That's hard to not watch.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
It is, and I know that Rex does not mind having the cameras around.
Unfortunately for me, his father, Buddy Ryan, came into my life at a very young age. At 22 in the National Football League, and this guy's a chip off the old block, and I think it's been refreshing. I really do, for the National Football League to see characters like Rex Ryan, and the exposure that he's gotten in Hard Knocks has really been something. Not that he needed it.
He is not scared. Jonathan Dwyer carries it. He's had a nice night, picks up 3. Mark Sanchez has had maybe not even an average preseason so far, so people are wondering how he's going to be going into his second year. They've had some injuries defensively they're going to have to work through, but they're a team that's gotten a lot of publicity and a lot of talk for what they did going deep into the playoffs last year, and a wild card team out of the AFC East. Division 1 last year by New England. There's Dwyer again, good for 3.
Yeah, I think they've probably gotten too much talk, to be honest with you. It's a team that not a lot was expected from last year, and we've seen it a lot in this league. We've seen teams that excuse me, haven't had great years the year before. They come back and they challenge, and this was a team that, in all honesty, probably shouldn't have made the playoffs, and yet they did, and they made the most of it, made it to the championship game. A young quarterback, great corner. A lot changes if Darrelle Revis is not on that team, and they're not able to do a lot of the things that they did. And I think that's an organization that's got to be real careful. They didn't win the division, and I know New England's not real happy about all the talk that's coming out of there.
Here's Dwyer on 3rd down. He's a yard short of a first down. He's out to the 29, and a punt is coming from Sepulveda. It's a 17-point lead with under 2.5 to play. If the Steelers wish, they can let the game clock wind down to the 2-minute warning. We had a chance to see New England play last week. New England had their hands full with St. Louis. Hard to believe, but a very good debut for Sam Bradford as a starter, the #1 overall pick for the Rams. They played great in Foxborough this past week. Penalty flag is Saquon Thompson. He does not go down easily. He's still going. He can run. Wow. He's already got a touchdown on an interception. Gets a block. Still going. 2 flags are down. And finally, Saquon Thompson is down at the 11. 2 separate flags on what is now a 63-yard return by a guy who's been electric here tonight.
You got one chance there with the kicker that's in a position to make a play. They had blocking out in front of him. They take him out, and Saquon Thompson's able to take it all the way to the house, but because they were unable to make that block, he then had to come back in, and just good hustle there.
There are 2 fouls, both against the kicking team. Illegal formation, number 47, not lined up on the line of scrimmage. This penalty is declined. Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 11, who went out of bounds, came back in much too late. This penalty will be tacked on to the end of the play, half the distance to the goal. Denver's ball, first down.
Take a break, come back. What a return by Saquon Thompson. Nice night for the Broncos. They have it. Great field position, leading by 17. -17-point game. That was the 2-minute warning because of that long return by Saquon Thompson. 1:44 remains. Brady Quinn is set up now just outside the 8 with a 1st and goal. That's how the Denver Broncos are going to have to play, especially early when you consider the San Diego Chargers' first 6 games. I don't know if anybody's looked at that, but they could very easily get off to a 5-1, 6-0 type start in the AFC West. 1st and goal, and here's Bruce Hall. Bruce Hall is down inside the 5 to the 3. San Diego's at Kansas City, against Jacksonville, at Seattle, against Arizona, at Oakland, at St. Louis. That is a light schedule for a good San Diego team. And Josh McDaniels' club's going to have to play like they are tonight, opportunistic defensively, move the ball on offense, if they're going to hang in that battle early this season with the Chargers.
Yeah, and of course last year they were able to do that with their 6-0 start. So I would agree. San Diego seems like they're going to have a heck of a team, and they should get off to a good start.
2nd and goal, and that's Bruce Hall. He's down to the 1. We look back on what we've seen here tonight in review, and for Pittsburgh, Roethlisberger certainly will be missed. A lot of mistakes when he left the game. Struggled in the red zone, and for Denver, it's been a mixed bag, but I think they have to be pleased with what they saw from Tim Tebow tonight.
I think so. I mean, we've seen so many young quarterbacks come in recently and play pretty well, and you know, it's hard. It's hard to play, and Tebow is the guy that everybody wants to make a determination on whether or not he's going to be the guy after every throw, every practice, every game, and it's not that simple.
Good play up front by the Steelers, and Bruce Hall goes backward, loses a yard.
You know, you look at this game though, and you know, there's some tough decisions that are coming down now for these coaches, and you know, who's going to make the squad. And they've got a set of cuts that are coming up, and you know, start fine-tuning this team, and you know, who's going to go to battle there in week 1. And you know, we know one of these teams a lot is expected from in Pittsburgh, and we'll find out in time just what we've got here in Denver.
Broncos get their first preseason win this year. The Steelers suffer their first loss. We'll take a break, come back. 34-17. Broncos win it.